Our signature courses, whether they're from Modo, Lightwave, Lightroom, Photoshop, Cinema 4D, or Modo, have always been about the entire process. In this 601 video, we're doing things a little bit differently, although we're going to be relatively similar, where we've got some of the basics, then we want to ramp up to a little more advanced project. But there's so many things to cover in this version of Modo that I want to kind of just get these basics out of the way. We've gotten our help videos done. So in this video, I'm going to talk about just the general process of modeling, very, very simply. And then right beyond this, we're actually going to get right into a real project, modeling a snake. And initially, I thought to have projects, very small little segmented projects for individual lessons, and for some of the blobs and volumetrics you'll see that. But for this one, when I want to get into the initial deformers, we're actually going to model our snake, and then we'll get into the deformers using that snake. So we're going to have a little bit of the old, a little bit of the new, using a project that goes through many features, and then we'll have small little projects that cover individual features. That said, let's talk right about the modeling tools. Now, I showed you in the very early part of the videos how the tools work here. If you shift, if you hold control, things like that. But let's just talk about building and some of the power that you have here. I'm just going to start with a simple box. Hold the shift key, click a box. And this isn't really a tutorial, just something for you to sit back and watch. I just want to talk about how your system can work and how it can help you. Some of the things here, how they can help you when you model. So we have a box. Now, I've said this before, a lot of you know me. When I started doing 3D modeling 20 years ago, yes, 1990, back in the Lightwave days, there was different layers, which is similar to our mesh containers. And everything in the training videos always said, actually there wasn't training videos, but in the advertisement videos, all these amazing animations were all done with simple geometric shapes. And I thought, you guys are crazy. There's no way a box and a ball and a cone can create all these shapes. But it is. It is possible, because that is why they are there. That's why these pyramids are still there 20 years later. So how can you work with these? Well, each object is made up of points, edges, or polygons. You guys all know this. So when I select one of these, like a polygon, that tells Modo I'm working with polygons. I can click on any one of these polygons. I can click to deselect, just click off of it. Or I can click on it again just to kind of toggle. If I want to select multiple, I hold the shift key and I can add to my selection. If I want to get rid of it, hold the control key to deselect. Let me take this another way. Hold the shift key, add a torus. With the torus added, I can now click and just interactively just select polygons. If I want to select multiple polygons, I'll hold the shift key and I can select multiples. If there's one I don't want, hold the control key and click right on it. Easy enough. So here's a rule I'm going to say that I've always said. If nothing is selected, whatever you do, in this case, let me show you something. Whatever you do is applied to everything, kind of like I showed you earlier in the course. If I select something, we're just going to randomly hold our mouse and go over, change same vortex tool. If you select something, whatever you select is then edited. Okay, so be deliberate about your movement. So in this case, I've got nothing selected. I want to move. I can select my move tool. Now we're moving the polygons versus the actual item, but that's okay right now. I want to sculpt it. We can do that. Use taper, can do that. It's working on the whole item. But maybe I just want to do one part of this. So I can select a couple of polygons, press the L key to get a loop. Then I can go back to something like bulge, or in this case taper, and then we're tapering just that selection. Okay, so you select something, turn on a tool, activate the tool, turn off the tool, and move on. Okay, it's a really simple way to work. You just have to be very deliberate about it. I know way too many people that kind of are trying to do too many things at once, and it's a one-time deal. Turn on a tool, apply it, use it, turn it off, move on. Very simple way to model. All right, so let me close all this, close scene. Let's go back to basic. We'll add another cube. Now, if you want to do more with this, some of the tools allow you to duplicate things. So in this case, I'm going to choose the bevel tool, and I can click to activate the bevel, and I can pull for my shift, and bevel's actually in the basic tab up here. Shift, and then you can inset by grabbing the red handle. You can do a randomization with a plus or minus, and that's great if you want to build something with multiple polygons and beveling them. But what's great about Modo's bevels is that automatically will group polygons. So for instance, I've got 2 polygons up here now. Press the B key to get my bevel. If I turn this off and I click and drag, my bevel does that, kind of that Hershey bar effect. Group polygons, and now I'm beveling those together. Turn off the bevel, and then deselect. So easy to make shapes. And then tab key, I add subdivisions. But one thing I actually really like is that I've got control over my edges. If I double click an edge, and I'll shift double click an edge to add to that selection, edges is selected, press the B key again, Modo automatically adds an edge bevel interactively. I'm just clicking and dragging, and I can also choose a round level. So I can actually smooth that out. Spacebar turns off the tool, and I click to deselect those. I've got a really nice little shape there that normally would have been pretty hard to model. I know other programs don't make it that easy. This is why Modo is tops when it comes to modeling. No question. Alright, so I double click that edge. I want to select this whole bottom to bevel it. So I'll double click it, hold the control key to deselect the one I don't want. Press the B key again for edge bevel. And then I click and drag, and it remembers that I had a round level of 2, and it applies that. And I didn't go towards the front. That's okay. I'm just showing you the back. So really great way to work. But what's also cool in Modo is that you can bevel segments. Excuse me, points. You can bevel points. You wouldn't think it's really a big deal, but with the right mouse button, I can lasso select, and again press B. So the B key for bevel all the time. You can probably hear quotes of me all the time going B for bevel. But click and drag, and you actually bevel those corners, and same thing like the edges, you can put a round level on. This is really handy for all kinds of things. Great way to start a shape. I think one of our courses a while ago, we did a shape like this where we had laid out some points, we beveled it, we chose extrude, we clicked to activate extrude, and we built this up, and we made a cow catcher on the front of a locomotive. So just this bevel tool can be very, very handy. Maybe perhaps you have to build some kind of Blu-ray player, some kind of component. Really easy to do just by creating a shape like that. Okay, so just some basic modeling workflow. Points, edges, polygons. When to use them depends on what you're modeling. There's a materials button now, which used to be buried here in the items list. That's actually been brought out. And talked about it earlier where you can click and select on a particular material. But really what I want to focus on is just these tools right now over here. The deform tools, well, we're going to get to those, but there's a soft move, soft drag, pretty self-explanatory, shear, and basically that's just a move with a fall off, and I had shown you fall offs in an earlier video. But the duplicate tab is one of the most powerful features in Modo when it comes to modeling. You have to think about models too in a way where you don't always want to have to build it from scratch. Perhaps you can manipulate them, get them from the Luxology asset library, which I'll show you at the end of the video. Bridge tool works terrific, radial sweep, things like this. This might also be considered a lathe or a loft, depending which program you're working in. But if I choose an array, for instance, and I click in the interface, that array tool suddenly becomes active. And just like I showed you earlier, when you choose a tool, the properties for it show up beneath. So now, because the tool is still live, I can interactively just click these arrows and add different arrays. And you can see here in my item list, I'm automatically adding replicas. And what's cool about this is that I have so much control over how these are placed. What I want to do these, I can interactively just go in there and click and drag and move those around. Now you can also do a radial array. Just click again to activate. Change the count. Perhaps change the size, or you can change the axis that you're using. Very, very interactive and powerful. And I'm just moving these in real time. I can rotate it more than 360 if I want. Play with that axis, flatten it out. Just making a nice radial array. A clone tool we're going to use often. And we can put the number of clones we want. We can shoot an offset like this. And there are my clones. And of course you can have it on the Y and on the Z and so on. But one of the features in here that came out in 501 is called the between feature. So what might happen is you might have, let's say, a clone or an array you want. I'll put between on, and you can actually come over here like this, and then it will actually make the right amount of clones that you choose in between those 2 points. You don't have to guess. So it saves you a lot of guesswork sometimes when you have a certain number that need to exist in between 2 particular points. A couple other things are curve clone. Again, just click this and you can start cloning on a curve, which is really cool. So we might do something like this. Oh, I don't know, to make some dominoes fall. It could be kind of cool. There's a couple of ways to do that. So undo, just get back here. And a curve extrude. Now, what I'm going to do for curve extrude, I'm going to go back to polygon mode, select that top polygon, then use my curve extrude. And you've seen some tutorials from me and other people how we make a coffee mug. And we put a handle on, just very much like this. And then you can use the bridge command to connect those polygons. So what's a bridge command do? Well, bridge command will do this. I'll take this guy right here, and I'll come around like this, and I'll turn off curve extrude. Shift A will fit that selection. And then I'm just going to select, hold the shift key and select a few polygons. Then go to polygon, because there are all these polygon related tools, and choose bridge. And you can see that we're bridging those polygons together. It doesn't look real clean, and it really shouldn't be, but we can play with the twist command and actually get something somewhat decent like that to bridge those together. Hit the tab key. Well, they don't really line up too well, but they are bridged. They are joined together. Conjoined polygons with the bridge tool. All right, so a lot of different tools in here. I'm not going to go through each and every one and give you an example, although that is a good idea for a tutorial, a tools tutorial. But these duplicate tools are very powerful. Curve extrude is one I use all the time. Clones, arrays, radial arrays. Last, I should point out, if you hold the Alt key, you'll make instances of many of those tools. And what an instance is, it's a virtual copy. So it really helps you save on resources. So very powerful, but also some limitations. All right, so you've got Alt Option, and then you've got clones, arrays, radial arrays, mesh paint, which is a great one where we can use an object in one layer to paint those onto another object. So you can put like glitter on a ball, or you can put bushes across a landscape, things like that. You're painting with the mesh. But those are been in there for a little while. There's new ways of doing things, and that's why I want to move on. So very simple modeling tools, our duplicate tools, our mesh edit tools where we can slice things up, point tools, edge tools, polygon tools. We'll use those as needed, but those are all the basic modeling tools and just a little bit of the modeling workflow.